That old man got the tractor beam out of commission, or this is going to be a real short trip. Okay, hit it!
Hey everyone, how's it going? Jason, how are you tonight?
I am good. How are you?
I am fucking hot and sweaty. Well, no, I took a shower, so I'm not so sweaty anymore, but I sweat my balls off all fucking day working outside.
I think most can agree that it is. This heat has been quite difficult to deal with.
Ugh. It just like wipes you out for the rest of the day. You know, you're outside sweating all day, and then you try to relax at the end of the night. And honestly, I was like almost falling asleep because of dealing with the heat all day and being wet all day. Nah, that's not my favorite. My wife wants to move to Florida or somewhere hot, and I'm like, hell to the no.
No, the East Coast is bad enough. The last thing you want to do is go where there's more. You don't want to go where there's actually more humidity.
Hell no. She know. Well, she thinks she could talk me into it, but it's not. There's definitely no way. I might just get. I might just get like a vacation home, you know, somewhere south, but not gonna do. So nobody cares about that. But so you know, today this is Friday, and no group therapy till next week. So and we haven't had a show all week long. So wanted to do it last night, but I worked the entire night the night before, and I didn't get home until 5:30 a.m. So and I was wiped out. So, and somebody stayed up with me actually and talked to me all the way home, kept me from falling asleep at the wheel, which I'm very thankful for. Wonder who that was.
What a good friend! What a good friend!
Yeah, sometimes he is, sometimes he's not. You know, but. But yeah, it was sorry guys. There was a couple people who asked me about, you know, they said they were looking forward to this show last night. So we're having it tonight instead. So yeah. Just figured we'd talk about, you know, some stuff we're working on, some stuff we're buying. San Diego Comic-Con. I don't think anybody else is going to join us tonight. I think they're pretty busy. I know Matt's busy. I'm not sure where CC is or Steve, but so it's just gonna be us. So tell me what you've been up to, Jason. What have you been working on? I know you're not really. At least I don't think you've been buying things. You haven't told me anything you're buying lately, but
No, I haven't been buying too much, right?
no.
I've been working on some hilts, playing around some hilt parts, collecting a few more found parts here and there. I've been working on. So remember when Rory from Wanawanga did the bunker bomb kits?
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up getting one of those, and I sent it over to Ben Huckby over at 30 Rogue, who did a fantastic job painting it. But then the whole discovery came about with the Amco drill and getting the piece out. And I had a couple of the small found parts left over, like the knobs. I had the mystery boot piece and all that. So I decided that I'm going to go ahead and do a found parts one. I figured that'd be fun, right? Hey, Stuart, how's it going, man? Glad to see you here. So I've been just, a couple things on the bench, as you know, but for those watching who aren't unaware, working on one of those, which I think once I'm finished with that, which should be pretty soon, I basically just got to get the cone in for Plastrark, which is already ordered, and then cut it down and drill it. I might actually part with the Wanawanga one, and that actually has a few actual found parts on it too.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't you if you have a whole found part one? You might as well get rid of the Wanawanga one.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's just such a fantastic kit. Like, it's so spot on. Roy did such an amazing job. I actually thought it's so accurate. I actually thought he had access to, or at one point had the original prop in hand prior to when he actually did, because he posted pictures. I think they're in celebration of handling the original prop. But man, his is just like spot on. For anybody who doesn't have it, I recommend going and picking it up. And it's just a fun kit to build. It's not too expensive, a couple $100, but really well worth it. I opted to go with the real photo multipliers, and then I put, like I said, the boot pieces and a couple knobs that I had. So I'm working on that. Still, again, and you know this, but again, for those watching, as you asked, still just crossing T's and dotting the I's on a TIE Fighter, man. And it's just like, um,
It's looking
it's
good.
such a love hate. Thank you, I appreciate that, but I don't think I've ever had such a love hate relationship with a piece before. Because
Oh, I have.
I want to be careful with the live stream, because I don't, we talk a lot off camera quite a bit, so I don't want to put one of those like, oh yeah, we said this, we said that. So I want to try to keep it open, the dialect open for people watching. The thing is that you're aware of how much time, effort, and energy I've been putting into this, right? And I really went down the rabbit hole, and I learned a lot about it. A lot of the stuff that was, scratch built, which I would have never guessed, and it's been interesting. But it's another piece, and I don't necessarily think this was intentional. I think it was more out of curiosity, and I think me and you both sort of fell into this little, I don't know what word you want to call it, sort of like sandbox right around the same time where. So I have the EFX TIE Fighter, right? And it's kind of like, well, why would you need two? Well, it was one of those things where it's like, well, the EFX one looks fantastic, right? Another thing where they did a great job, but I was like, well, I'd love to build one. So I started building one. Now I have no need for the EFX one, so it's another piece I get apart with. But beside that, it's just like, the good thing is having pieces in hand like Roy's Bunker Bomb or the EFX TIE Fighter allows you to have great reference, and you know
Yes.
that from experience.
Yes.
So having
I wish I
piece-
still had. I wish I still had my the ATST that I sold to Casa, so I could look at that and compare, and help me build the donor kit one that we've been putting together.
yeah, it makes a great. But it does. It just does it. It makes great reference. So same thing with the ATSD. Getting the kits, using that, and then the unfinished one I had gotten from Lee, and I used that for quite a bit of reference, and it helped out significantly with building the next one. So I got a few things across the bench. We got a couple kits in from.
You have a
from
lot of things on your bench.
Yeah, I've been
You
doing
do.
the A-wing. Got the A-wing started. The cloud
Mhm.
car is all cleaned up and primed, but the Jedi training remote's pretty much done. The TIE Fighter is probably about 90% done, and the all found parts bunker bomb is about 80% done. And then again, I'm messing around with a couple of hilts, but those are more just like passion projects. I like all the stunt and concept stuff.
Yeah.
For the newcomers, that's kind of my thing. For those who've been watching and listening for a long time, as you guys know, I'm big on the concept and behind the scenes sort of concept of screen type thing. So yeah, I don't normally work on a lot of stuff at one time, but giving my personal situation that had taken place over the last few months, it was one of those things where I had a lot of free time that I needed to preoccupy myself with, and normally it would frustrate me, but this time around I enjoyed it because,
Yeah.
as you know, there's always like, I'm waiting for this part, I'm searching for this kit, or this is coming in the mail, and when you're focused on that one part, dude, you want those things yesterday, right? And
No,
you're
not
looking at
me.
tracking, and oh no, you're the most
can-
patient man I know.
I'm the most patient man in the world, right? No, I
But
I I find that if I have to I have to have at least two projects going. I don't want more than two because then my brain starts going, all over the place. But
yeah,
like I like to have two projects going at the same time because when I'm waiting for something to like dry or cure or like wait for the putty to dry so I can sand it, gives me a chance to go do something else. Right now I just finished the two ion cannons, which love hate relationship with those things.
yeah,
I
you did have that, yeah.
I loved painting the ball and building that. I freaking hated doing the snow. I'll never do snow again. I don't care. I won't put it on. I won't put it on ATSD. I won't touch it ever again. But now I've moved on to two A wings, and I'm actually getting a concept A wing from John Simmons. It should be here midweek next week. and also a Death Star silo. So that'll be my second project I'm going to work on. The Death Star silo is all found parts. I'm gonna, I gotta get a few more kits, but as I'm working on the A-wings, I also work on the silo. So I don't go outside of two. So I know you got like what, 3 or 4 going on, right?
I get 4 going, yeah. But I've been pretty good. Prior to this, I wouldn't have done that only because it's easy for something to like fall back and then just be out of sight, out of mind for months on end.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been really good with rotating and working on one piece for 2 or 3 days, switching to another piece for 2 or 3 days. So as things come in, as I'm searching for things and waiting on things, as they come in, I've been kind of moving down the assembly line, so to speak. So it's been good because I got a good system down. But I don't think I would I don't think I'll continue in this direction with juggling multiple projects.
Yeah.
But right now it's been good, and I'm really liking it because I feel like it's keeping my mind fresh, and as I'm sort of in that rabbit hole, getting kits and getting parts and things like that.
Well,
It's keeping things consistent. It's keeping the wheels turning.
I guess I could say I have 3 projects going because I'm working on the A-wings, and this week I'll start working on that silo. But I'm also buying all the kits that I need for the ATST. I guess that's a third one. I mean, I haven't started working on it
Yeah.
yet, but I'm getting the kits and being prepared so that when I build it, I can just pop, 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 pop all the parts right on. So, speaking of the A-wing, I guess I was just talking to John Simmons today, and we were talking about his Naboo Starfighter he's did, right? And he put
Yeah.
the video up, and he had it like chromed and shiny, not chrome, but like aluminum, and then he put a clear coat on, and he just wasn't happy with it, and he said that the clear coat didn't dry. Okay, so he went over it with another coat of the aluminum, right? The aluminum
Okay.
AK something. And I mentioned to him, I'm like, like most of our videos we put up, we show like progress, and we show that the smooth parts, right? Like we show, okay, this is what we got to this point, we're ready to prime. We got to this point, we're ready to paint. It looks beautiful, it looks good, and it kind of gives like a false impression that everything goes smoothly. When we all know nothing goes smoothly on any model. Like
No, there's always some mishap here or there.
dude, case in point, I even said to him, I was like, listen, maybe like when you do your next video, just point out at like all the problems that you had and what you can do to fix them, which I think would be a good idea because a lot of times a problem will arise and I'll be like, what the fuck do I do? Like, okay, let's take that A-wing, for example, right?
Hmm.
I put how many different types of primer on? Okay. I put a primer on. It didn't adhere right. It just like rubbed off. Okay. And I had washed it with soapy water. I scrubbed it with paint thinner, and then I put the styrene strips in the sides of the gun ports, right? The gun along the side of the A-wing. So once I put it together and primed it and the primer didn't stick, I'm like, well, I'm not going to sand all this primer off, so I got to use paint thinner, or I didn't try acetate. Acetate's really too strong. So, and then it actually ended up warping that styrene that I had. That was styrene sheet in there, and it made it look like bacon. Okay, so seriously, 3 times, 3 different primers, I did follow the same exact procedure. I scrubbed it with soapy water. I left it soak for hours, and then scrubbed it with soapy water, scrubbed it with paint thinner, and then scrubbed it with soapy water again. Put those strips in, primered it, didn't work. Then I had to strip all that paint off with paint thinner, redo those strips, wash it, and then primed it again. I did that 3 times. Okay. And I was on the phone with you. I was like I was ready to throw it against the wall, and like I'm thinking, what the hell do I do? So you kind of gave me the idea of buying this primer, this Rust-Oleum that sticks to really difficult surfaces, right? Bonding primer. Yeah. Finally, it worked. Okay, but that was after 3 times of doing the whole procedure over and over, like 4 steps. So, you know, I think it might be a good idea with these videos to show your fuck ups as well as making it look perfect, you know, which right now throughout this build of the A-Wing, I've been videoing, you know, all the way through it so I could put together a build video at the end and put it on the channel. But now going back and thinking about it, I'm going to actually show my fuck ups. So, you know, people can learn, all right, this is what you can try if this doesn't go right. If your primer isn't sticking, you know, and I know why the primer didn't stick. The primer didn't stick because of it had that mold release, right? I'm sure that's what it was. Even though I scrubbed it many times, it still stuck to that. So I'm going to start showing in those videos where I mess up and how I go about fixing it. Long story short.
Yeah. No, I think that'll be good. Because I knew you were having trouble. And you know me, one thing I've always been good with is, you know, like paint and mixtures and opacity and, you know, things like that. Where, you know, is this adhering? Is it not? And what's the reason? But once I realized, I was like, okay, like it's one thing to like use primer A or primer B, maybe a brand here or a brand there that may not necessarily work as good as the next. But then when you were like 3-4 times through and you were like pulling your hair out, I'm like, okay, listen, I was like, stop. This is what you need to try to do. And you're right. Sometimes you can throw some simple green or, you know, scrub it down with soap and water. And like you said, getting to the point where even potentially like hitting it with acetone, which, you know, that should be a last resort. But
well, let's talk about acetone. Okay, let's just talk about that so nobody gets a wrong impression here. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Acetone is very strong. It's used for really strong. I don't even know. Like my dad is a lime truck mechanic, and he used it on brake calibers and you know, like parts on a big electric line. You know, the telephone, not the telephone poles, but the line trucks. And seriously, every single one of these models, okay, the Slave One, the X-Wing, the Sandcrawler, all 3 of them, I've run into that problem where the primer doesn't stick, okay? And I have tried Simple Green. I've tried soapy water. I've tried paint thinner. So the first time it happened was when I did the Sandcrawler. Okay, I cleaned them, sprayed it with primer. It just like gummed up, and I could actually like rub it, and it was gummy. Okay, so I wrote Randy Cooper, and I'm like, what the hell do I do? Because I can't sand all this shit off, because I'll lose all the detail. And then he said, use acetone. The resin will handle it. So I'm like, okay, you know, I used acetone on it. Came out easy. Just the paint came right off, no problem, right? And it didn't ruin the model at all. Okay. So on Slave One, I painted the cockpit. Again, same problem with primer. Okay. Different primer. And then I thought, all right, well, I'll use acetone on that. Okay. Bad idea. Different kind of resin. It started melting away the details. So I had to scratch build.
And that stuff's no joke.
It's no joke. It's not a joke. You know, that kind of stuff, you have to wear gloves and eyeglasses and respirator, you know. So I'm like, I can't use acetone on just about on every single resin cast, you know. So I still haven't figured it out, Jason, because I can honestly tell you on the A-Wing, I did everything possible to get that mold release off, and it really makes me want to not work on resin casts and resin pieces anymore. It makes me just want to do scratch build stuff and not even worry about that.
Right? I think a mixture of that plus the cleanup time that we talked about.
Yes.
And just overall, resins are different. I mean, there's been times where we've bought the same exact kits from the same
Mm-hmm.
exact source, and mine's come in a different color than yours.
Yep.
Mine's been a little bit thicker or thinner. Mine's had more cleanup or less. So, it's one of those things where you're right. And then when you start assembling pieces, am I missing something, which we talk about a lot? Is
Yeah.
this, fit the size? Do I have to break out some milliput, or do I have to fill this in? And do I have to scratch build a piece, or all of that? So there's a number of reasons that start to push you farther and farther away from the garage kits and the resin kits. But now it's an interesting conversation because we talk about this stuff a lot, but at the same time, we kind of go in different directions. I think this time is interesting only because so now you have this thing where it's like, okay, garage kits are becoming a thing of the past. Not
Mm-hmm.
let me rephrase that. The true idea of a garage kit, meaning like somebody literally in their garage using rudimentary, crude resources to scratch together a kit, is becoming a thing of the past. You have somebody like
Yes.
Lassie who can produce these super clean cut, precise, beautiful kits, but that's far and few, right? It really is.
Mm-hmm. It
He's-
really is
he's-
just Merlin and Lassie are doing kits like that. Everybody else, like,
yeah,
and I don't know
that's-
too many people who are making garage kits anymore. Like the Nyson ones are garage kits. They require a lot of work, And remember, I started this A-wing, the Nyson A-wing, and I told you I just am not looking forward to working on this thing because there's so much I got to do to it. Compared to like the Lassie kit or Merlin models at. You take away step A and B, you get to the good stuff. So.
yeah, and I think going back to that, Merlin's a little bit on a larger scale, right? Because Lassie's pumping out a handful of these things at best.
Yeah.
And I get it. There's only so many you can make from a mold that you've done at home. So it's not like he's doing 50 or 75 of them. Merlin is doing around that, 50 or 100, which still isn't a lot. But they're also being smart about it where they're thinking things through. They're really thinking things through. Anybody who hasn't purchased from them and got on the Discord, these guys are going in and like revising things on a daily basis. Not in a bad way, not like OCD, not like a creative who criticizes their work and once they finish it they go back and say, oh, I should have done this better. No, they're getting feedback from the community.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at what they've produced and they're like, oh, this is what we fell short. So totally thought through. But the point of saying that, going further, was the materials. It's not, they're using plastics versus just crude resin.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's fantastic because it's a lot easier to work with. It's a lot more pliable, not as brittle. And I just think there's less offense, defense with the piece as you're assembling and painting it.
Do you see this comment?
Yeah, I was looking at that. With
Yeah.
the A-wing, it ended up using Tamiya lacquer thinner to clean the
Yeah.
resin surface. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? You start to play mad scientist. You start to look for different things around the house, or you start making trips out to Lowe's, or Home Depot, whatever it may be in your area.
Well,
And that's the thing. That gets costly and it gets time consuming.
here's the problem though. Like, it wouldn't have been such a big deal to me, okay, to clean off this paint and try a different primer. But it was those pieces of styrene that were seriously difficult to get in to begin with. When you you could reach your hand all the way in the back and put it in and hold it. I had to actually drill holes in it, use 2 wires and wiggle it in there because it was already all glued together, and wiggle it in, pull it up against the model, and just run gold glue in the corner so it would stick. And that was what made it so frustrating because I had to cut new ones, shave them, basically scratch building this so that it fits inside there perfectly. And to do that 3 times was pretty aggravating. But like I said, there's like Lassie's kit. It's a really great model. I just struggled with getting the primer down. It was starting to piss me off. So, and I don't know. Has anybody had any trouble with the AT-ATs, the Merlin AT-ATs? I know we talked to we actually talked to Ethan about the mold release, and he said that they used some, but not much, right? I don't remember what he said. He said,
Yeah,
I
he
don't.
said there wasn't too much, and they did it in such a way where that's another thing. They tackle some of these problems knowing. I mean, again, him and Justin have been building, models for what all of 2 decades. So there's a lot of experience there to say, hey, if we have to use a release agent, we don't want somebody to attack this with primer or paint and have it beat up or not stick.
Yeah,
So I forget the exact process, but I know that I had tinkered around with some of the pieces, tested out some. You know me, I'm always making swatches and priming and
yeah, I don't
checking
do that.
opacity levels.
I don't do that.
Yeah, yeah, you just go in, huh?
I just go in
No,
and
it's
slap it
it's
on,
it's always good for reference because
throw
sometimes
some
we have to add a
throw
little
some spit
little
on
more.
it, and get right to it.
Yeah, but it's always good to understand what colors you're working with and how you got to thin them down and if you got to
Yeah,
add more white or whatnot. But with the Merlin one, I gave a little test on a few parts and it took like a breeze. I mean, it was super smooth and super easy going, and so
yeah.
far so good. I mean, I only have the one kit, but um, yeah, I mean they're killing it. So yeah, going back to the garage thing, it it gets to a point where you almost don't mind taking the time to get the donor kits, break them up, and start to assemble.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
original found parts. It gets pricey and time consuming, but some of
Every
these kits, what
single
they're selling for,
every single project I have going forward, they're all donor kit pieces, scratch build. There's 3 or 4 of them that I plan on doing it, down the road, and they're none of them are garage kit. Well, I take that back. I have Merlin models that I'm planning on doing later on, but other than that, no garage kits, just scratch building and donor kits. I don't care. I'll just buy all the kit parts. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. So
yeah,
it's fun. I enjoy getting the kit parts and seeing, going in the kits and, getting the ones I need for whatever project I'm working on. But then I'll be looking at it like, oh, that's on Slave One. Oh, that's on, speeder bike, whatever the case may be, that I didn't realize before, which is pretty cool. That's fun for me.
yeah, it is. There's 2 new kits coming out. I think this month or next that I'm looking at tackling. They are garage style kits, but they are from another maker who does an amazing job. And like I said, there's less than a handful out there that do it
Do
at
I know
that
about
level of
these?
preciseness. Yeah, we
Do I
talked
know
about it.
about?
Yeah. Well,
I,
you don't remember anything, so you don't you
I
you
really
know
don't.
about them, but you don't know about them.
Okay, you'll have to
Um,
remind me afterwards, but because I
but
don't remember.
yeah, but those I'm looking forward to tackling. But other than that, you're right. Everything so far, like the Jedi remote, all found parts. The bunker bomb, all found parts. The tie was pretty much all found parts. The only thing with the Tie Fighter was I went with the more modern day cool shade, just because finding the 70s, the vintage cool shade is just it's a needle in a haystack. I found some here, I found some there, but it was never enough material to make both wings. Um, and then I had one guy offer me some, but he wanted like 7, 8 grand, and I'm like, look, I know it's expensive, but it's not 8 grand expensive. I was thinking maybe more around 3 or 4. But then once he wanted close to 8, I passed on. I went with the modern day one, and then one more thing, but I haven't started it. But I acquired quite a few of the kits, as you know, is the Tie Bomber. So that's also going to be all scratch built
Mm,
in addition to the
yeah,
ATST. So yeah, I mean, all
yeah.
this stuff is going to be 100% donor, just all reference and research. Thanks to the last 2 decades of all the people that have done the work before us, and I greatly
Oh
appreciate,
yeah.
very appreciative of
I
that. But
I love picking their brains and saying, "Hey, what's this kit part?" Like I have, I don't have the knowledge that they have. So if I'm looking at reference pictures, I'm like, unless I've actually seen the kit already, like if it's been on Slave One or if it's been on the X-wings or even the Falcon, I have no clue. Like, and what helps is to know what era the kit was produced in.
yeah,
Because
that does
there's
make a
certain
difference.
it makes a huge difference, and I don't know that either. Like some guys will be able to tell you, oh yeah, that kit was around in 77 to go on some of the Star Wars ones, or it was made in 80 to go on an Empire one. I don't know any of that. that's a big thing to narrow down the parts that you're looking for. I marvel at some of these guys who can look at a blurry picture, and say, oh, that's a Rocco tank or whatever the case may be. It's like, and it's like it's a Rocco tank that's about this big, okay, and one little square vent is cut off of it and put on, and it's like, how do you know that stuff? Like, it's mind-boggling to me, but impressive as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you're right. The guys who can do like the blurry pictures or see something that's really pixelated or blown out and say, "Oh, this is that." That fascinates and intrigues me. But I do think I'm getting really surprisingly, I'm getting really, really good at being able to look at something and be like, "Hey, this is from this is from that," or at least
Yeah.
being able to tell, this is from, this type of vehicle or from this size or even like the scale. I'm getting really good at being like, hey, that's a 1/12th kit versus a 1/20th kit. And I'm actually starting to surprise myself. But at the same time, when you do something long enough, I mean, I've been 7, 8 months straight nonstop, almost on a daily basis, researching, reviewing, looking at images, handling, buying, you know, going through this stuff. So just like anything, right? You do it enough times, you start to get good at it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still really interesting.
So I just want to answer our trooper's question. Does anyone know if any of the prequel ships were made from model kits or how they were originally made? Correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but I think a lot of them were designed and scratch built, but not a lot of them have actual kit parts on. I think
mean,
they were
yeah, I mean, compared to the OT, no,
right.
right? I mean, some do obviously, but a
Yeah.
lot of them were just you know scratch built, styrene and
Right.
evergreen and vac forming and all that stuff. But
Take for
yeah,
example the Naboo Starfighter. Okay, that
mhm.
was they made. I'm sure they made models of that, but they weren't made from kit parts. Now, what they're doing nowadays, though, is they have all these kit parts in a database, and like on the Razor Crest, they're taking kit parts that were used in the OT and digitally putting them on the ships, such as the Razor Crest. Like they'll shrink it or make it bigger, but it'll be the shape of the kit part from the library. Where they didn't do that during the prequels, I don't think. Unless I'm wrong. I mean, that's what I'm not an expert on it. I'm sure somebody's probably screaming at me and saying you don't know what you're talking about, but but that's kind of how I envision it. I know that there is one ship that I know had some kit parts on it though. It was that red ship in the very beginning of it was like a Republic cruiser that came into the Trade Federation's dome, that round ship. It was red,
Yeah,
like in the beginning
yep,
of Phantom Menace. I know that one was scratch built with some kit parts. There it is, right there. Thank you,
the
Stuart.
Rebel Cruiser. Yeah.
Yep, yep. I've seen people make that one. And
But
it is pretty cool.
just in general, going back to the prequels real quick, because it was so heavily sourced with CGI, right? And that's kind of what kickstarted the whole CGI revolution and what we see in movies today. People don't realize that they use just as many practical effects, if not more, in the prequels than they did in the original trilogy.
Okay, so speaking to John Eblin, okay, who was ILM model maker for 1 and 2, no 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So what people most the prequels had more practical effects than any other of the movies. Okay, they built many more sets, but why they kind of got it kind of got misleading that most of it was special effects, because a lot of times they called it a special effect. I don't remember the term, but that scene was a special effects scene because the building might be practically built from scratch, but then the background behind it might be CGI.
CGI,
So
yeah. Painted in
so that's
digitally.
right. so that's kind of where it gets misleading. There's a like okay, so who asked the question here? Arc Trooper. So gunship or ATTE. Now I know that there's a couple ATTEs models that were scratch built. I've seen pictures of them. They're big, the big walkers. So a lot of things were scratch built, but had key parts done in CGI. Is that making sense? Or it works in my brain, but sometimes it doesn't work out coming out of my mouth. Jason, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening.
Okay.
Yeah, no, so you're right. Some of it was combined. So
Yes.
they would do what's called. So there's a difference between rendering something in CGI and painting something in CGI. So you would have sort of like a matte painting on glass in the original trilogy. They would do that with the prequels. A lot of things were painted up and sort of added in, via rendering and layering and all that. And then it was sort of mapped together with the practical effect. So you're right. That's where a lot of that becomes misleading. But technically, there is a lot of CGI there. However, there also is a ton of the practical effects. But I think there's quite a few ships. I think the Republic gunship too, if I remember correctly, has at least a handful of donor parts on it too.
Does it?
Not a ton, but I think there's a bit. Yeah, I don't think it's totally scratch built.
I think the reason why it seems like oh really, Stuart? I think the reason why I feel that like there wasn't that many kit parts on is because everything was so streamlined and sleek and shiny and less texture. Like the kit parts give it texture and reflect. Don't reflect the light as good. You know what I'm saying? So like the Trade Federation ships were extensively kit bashed. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, Adam talks about that sometimes when he talks about not necessarily the work he had done himself, but just in general working with or knowing of. He talks a bit about that. And it's always interesting to hear and learn.
Yeah. Well, so I'm getting something in this week that I'm pretty excited about, though. I'm finally getting, Jason, I'm finally getting the Chronicles Vehicles book finally. I'm very much looking forward to seeing that. Yeah, like we talked about it before. Like I have the PDF, but the colors on the PDF aren't that great, and I'm it's something I've been looking for a long time, and finally going to get it in this week.
Yeah, and I just we talked about this actually earlier today. I just can't believe. I mean, it's not like this book is 2 decades old. I mean, it just got released in like 2015, 16, 17. But I remember buying it, and I remember following the thread. Everybody was jumping on and grabbing it. And I don't know. I think we was it $50, $60 shipped. Wasn't much. And then all of a sudden it went like $200. And I was like, okay. It was like 400, and now they're upwards of 1,000, and it's like,
Yeah.
and they're not even for a minute there. The expensive ones were sealed copies. Okay, so if you were a collector and you wanted it for your book collection and not for reference, which I think a book like that, unless you're a diehard, should only be purchased. Not should, but primarily would be purchased for reference purposes. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you can't really read much of it. It's all in Japanese unless you are
Japanese.
Japanese. However, like there were copies out there with chicken grease and Cheeto finger stains, and for $1,200, and like people are getting crazy. And I even at one point thought like, should I, because I have it loaded a PDF as well, so I can blow it up on my screen and see things bigger. But I at one point was like, should I just sell my version just for a couple bucks? But then you're right, it's just good to pop it open for color purposes and just have that detail. And
well, do you remember at one point I was gonna buy it for $900, and you
you were gonna pay some crazy cash, and I was like, just don't. I was like, just don't do it. Wait.
I was ready to do it because I wanted it that badly, and I thought, all right, it's just gonna keep going up, right? So it got to the point where there was one on eBay for $2,500, and I watched and watched and watched, and then it said that it was sold. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, did he sell it for real, or did he sell it at a cheaper price, or did he just decide not the auction didn't didn't sell, so he pulled it down. But I contacted him. I'm like, hey, did you sell this? And how much did you sell it for? He said he actually sold it for $2,500. I was like, God damn, I'm never getting one of these things.
That's insane. I don't know.
Nuts.
Part of
Yeah.
me thinks that's like people just getting in on the hype train. You know,
Yep.
it's a fantastic book, but it ain't worth $2,500.
No, definitely not. It might be to a modeler, but but I was willing to pay $900 for it. So I even told my wife, I'm like, I told my wife about it, and she's like, you are not paying $900 for a book. I'm like, yes, I will. I'm going to. I might. So, yeah. One thing I wanted to mention was I got a shipping notice today. Also, Merlin Models, their bases are starting to ship out. I actually got a shipping notice saying, and I got the shipping notice. I'm like, all right, what? I'm not expecting anything from Merlin Models yet, but apparently, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. It's going to be the bases. So, I don't know if there's any people in the chat, just waiting for that, because I know a couple of them got damaged in the beginning, so they stopped shipping them. But if you're waiting for it, it should be coming soon. That, and also, Jason, I don't know if you got the Merlin model at and you're in that Discord, they're actually talking about selling acrylic dome for the AT-AT as well.
Yes, and I
that?
love that idea. Yes, and I responded to Ethan directly, and I said, look, I love this idea. The fact that they're doing quantities of 25 or 50, however many, makes it a lot cheaper than someone going out on their own. Because if you go out right now and try to buy one, no matter what your hookup is or who it's going to be $400 or $500 easy for something of that size. And maybe $350 for it, but it's going to be expensive. If he can get it down to like the $250 range shipped, I mean, come on, you can't beat that, right?
No.
And then he even posted a picture too, Chris. Did you see where he got blast beads? Like he used for like metal, and he put that down on the base with snow. Whoa, that looked beautiful.
I ordered it.
Did you? You grab some?
I did. I grabbed some off Amazon. They were $27 for a 10-pound bag, I think it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, if I ever, now that's different than you doing the snow, right? Because you put that on the base, and it kind of gives it its own really.
Yeah, that gives refraction. That'll bounce.
Yeah,
bounce light.
Yeah. And his on top of his base that lights up already, that's different than what I was doing with the snow. That way different. So yeah, I picked up a box of it.
Nice.
So there were a couple things we wanted to talk about tonight. We wanted to talk a little bit about Celebration. And I wanted to talk about some Marvel stuff too. I know we don't talk about Marvel. And I did mention before that I was getting a commission done of the Milano. Okay. And you had said you didn't really know the Milano that well. And the Milano is the first Guardians of the Galaxy ship. Okay. Named after Alyssa Milano, as I'm sure most people who are into Marvel already know. But that ship got destroyed, and then they came out with the Benatar, which is similar to the original ship, but most people would look at it off real quick and say, all right, that's the exact same ship, but it's not. It really is very different. And I kind of want to, I already have the Milano ordered, and it's being built right now. But there are two ships after that I wanted to commission as well. And I kind of wanted to just talk about them, and I wanted to show you a lot the differences between the ships, and also show you don't know much about the Firefly ship either, right? So, all right. So I'm just going to bring up some pictures of the Milano. You're not familiar with this ship at all, Jason?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. So, you have these are just pictures of the one that he had made a couple years ago for Celebration. And I've been wanting this for a long time and never thought I would actually have a chance to get it. But my friend Joseph actually had one, and he said, let me get in touch with the guy who built it. Maybe we can get one made for you. So I'm like, get the hell out of here. I was really excited about it. So, oh crap, where'd it go? That's the Milano. And that's being made for me right now. But what I had thought about doing on top of this was doing the second Guardians of the Galaxy ship as well to, you know how we, you and I talk a lot about concept and having like different ships in a line, like the ATST, you have like the ATDT and then the concept and then Empire and then Jedi and so forth, you know. That kind of gave me the idea to go a little step further and then after this look into doing the Benatar, which is this one. Where's it at? I don't know. I didn't send him. I didn't send him yet. I got to resend it. Oh, there they are. So here's the Milano and the Benatar. They're different. They're shaped different. This one looks like a specific bird. This is more sci-fi looking. So again, here's another view of it. I really want to have one right in front of the other and just show it in that kind of display. Do you know what I mean? These are Legos, but they're showing the shapes basically of both ships and how different they are. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, huh? So those are two of the ships that I was looking that I'm trying to get made. But then what I also did was I want to commission a Firefly ship. And did you say you didn't know much about this ship?
That I don't know much about. No.
Okay. So this is another one that the same ILM model maker made. This is the Firefly. This is Serenity from Firefly. This was shown in San Diego Comic-Con a couple years ago. This is going to be the next project I have somebody commission for me. It lights up, and basically I already started getting ready for this ship because I built this signature plaque to use as part of the base. My neighbor and I we designed it, laser cut it, and then this past weekend I went and met two of the cast members and had signatures made from them. I'll show you the one. Oh, not that way. There's Summer Glau. Me and my sons, we went to go in Baltimore, and we met Summer Glau and Jane, who's played by Adam Baldwin. This was a very strange convention that I went to. It was very bizarre. I think it's mostly a Star Trek convention, but there really wasn't any. It was a lot of like rings and candles and chocolates, and not your typical convention where they have like collectibles you can buy. It was very bizarre. And then they had these really good guests. Okay. Again, really bizarre because you'd think they would have more collectibles to buy, but for some reason this was mostly guest driven. Okay. Like I said, I met the two from Firefly, but then I also met A-Train from The Boys. My sons really wanted to get selfies and signatures from him, and he was really cool to meet and talk to. We talked to his mom for like an hour right before he came down to do signatures. We were standing there talking to her for a while. She was such a sweet lady. But that was last weekend. Honestly, I'll probably go back to that convention again just because they have such good guests, and I'm hoping they get more Firefly guests so I can finish this plaque. But that's enough about my commissions I want to do. Let's talk a little bit about San Diego Comic-Con.
Little SDCC.
Yeah. So, as if you watch this channel, most of you probably know that I was pretty big into modern Hasbro figures, right? And I'm completely out of buying those now because I just feel like Hasbro has completely destroyed the line. Case in point, this Abomination. Like, Halloween Were Wookiee is something that they're advertising to sell at San Diego Comic-Con. Like that's a big reveal, apparently. You said you liked this thing, right?
No, are you out of your mind?
You said you were going to buy it.
Dude, do you pay attention?
I do. You told me
I said they
you
came
had the
totally
Christmas
in the
ones.
same. Yeah, so I was talking about the Christmas ones, but this thing looks absurd. That looks like, remember when you were a kid and you got the trick-or-treat pail from your Happy Meal? That's what it looks like he's getting his hand.
Yeah. I mean, this would definitely classify our dumpster fire for group therapy. It gets worse though, people. It does get worse. Here, we'll put it up. Let's see if I can find a good picture of it. Ah, here it is. Here's a great picture of it.
That I thought was funky. That I like. I think that's cheesy,
It's
but
a clone trooper with green skeleton painted on it.
Yeah, it's a little absurd, but I still like it.
A little absurd. Oh, here's the werewolf.
That thing's just silly.
I mean, Jesus Christ. So what was interesting at San Diego that you noticed?
Thought it was cool seeing some of the busts. I thought, I don't know, man. Hot Toys is such a tease, right? Because you never know what they're actually going to put out. Someone today, and hats off to them, because everybody's all gassed up about one piece or another. And someone was like, look, here's San Diego Comic-Con or Toy Fair, etc., from 2015 on. And it was all these amazing figures, all these amazing Star Wars figures that we'll never, ever, ever see. Not even vehicles, just straight up figures that will never see the light of day. Because everybody's like, look at the coming soon list. Look at what Sideshow put up. Look what's coming soon. It's like, dude, they ain't coming. But no. I will say they look fantastic. And as always, Hot Toys knocks it out of the park. I thought it was interesting that Sideshow keeps adding to the Clone Wars line, right? Because it started off with Anakin and Obi. Then they brought Yoda into the mix. Then about a week or two ago, they announced Ahsoka. And then at SDCC, they dropped Cad Bane. So that's becoming like a whole line. Mm-hmm. And if they can clean up their acts, I know a lot of people were sort of up in arms about the quality of Anakin and Obi-Wan compared to the prototypes. But if they can follow suit and stick with being as close to the prototypes as possible, with at least with Yoda and Cad Bane, I think they'll do all right. But there's been some interesting things.
They got to fix a lot of that. They got to fix a lot of that.
They do. They definitely do. But if they do, I think they'll be doing all right.
Right. I didn't see a lot at I mean, okay, so
there's the animatronic Yoda.
Shall we get into that? I'm going to get into that. I'm going to mention that. I'm going to just say one thing.
I didn't know if you wanted to save it for group therapy.
I want to say no. Well, I'll say it in group therapy. I'll say it in group therapy too. I absolutely would not. Okay. That company, what they do is criminal. Okay. Plain and simple. They have stolen so many people's money. And instead of wasting that time and money and building that funky looking Yoda, okay, take the money and time that you spent on that and build the things that people paid money for. Okay, first of all, that's the first thing. Second of all, I just find it really, shall I say it, offensive to be putting anything EFX on any channel saying, oh, look at this great, EFX Yoda. I would never promote that company. I would never, ever say a single, I don't care how beautiful something looks. There's no chance in hell I would say, hey, check this out. Like, and listen, I'm not judging people who do. I'm not. I don't want anybody to come to me and say, oh, sorry, that's just how I feel. I would never put that up on here or on our Facebook page and say, hey, look at this from this company who not only steals people's money, but also holds the license to a lot of Star Wars pieces that another company could possibly make. So
Yeah.
hey, if somebody from EFX has a problem with that with me, let them hit me up about it. I don't really give a shit. But
No, I think you're right. I mean, you're talking on behalf of the community as a whole, right?
yes.
I mean, the list is ad nauseum. It goes on and on about how many people haven't received products or refunds or money back, and I know of some people personally who have been in that boat, but then when it suits them, they're dancing around on Instagram Reels and TikToks and smiling and whatnot, and it's just one of those things where like, yeah, you do got to be careful in this community what you shill, because it's one of those things where just because you're trying to get when the getting's good doesn't necessarily mean it's in everybody's favor, and you're right. Like, okay, they're building some things that look great. They're building things that look not so great, but they've been known for the last decade to put this stuff up on display. I mean, they had Salzel Nyson, this, amazing team doing years and years of research and travel and documentation just to put these pieces on display, right? That these guys are putting their heart and soul into. And then customers are like, wow, I'm going to be able to order this someday. No, you can't order it. And nobody else can make it either.
No.
And there's other things that go on behind the scenes that add to that story, but it is frustrating because you're right. EFX is one of those companies that's just like, people are getting so frustrated because they put out some great pieces. I mean, this is a company that put out the Legends Vader, even the limited edition Vader. They did the McQuarrie helmet, the Mick Vader, which everybody loves. It would have went further with the Stormtrooper, but Ralph unfortunately passed at that time. And they were on the right track, but just like Master Replicas, who was another company making amazing things, they just fell off. But for some reason, EFX still continues to stay at the top of their game without having to produce anything. And yeah, it's tough, right? It is. It's tough because you want to root for a company and hope that they do well by the community. But when they're not, the last thing you should be doing is shilling their stuff.
Definitely.
I think the Yoda thing was interesting. Definitely
No,
not.
I think that looked terrible. I think the eyes were way too big. It didn't look like Yoda. It was
but it's an interesting. Here's the thing. It's an interesting project, right? A full-on animatronic Yoda. But the problem is if people are getting excited about that, that's what I find troublesome, because you're getting excited about it and it's not coming out. Now, the difference, EFX and Hot Toys, is apples and oranges. Hot Toys may tease a figure, and look, we don't know if they're just deciding not to make it, or if they're going and having the license talk, and they're like, yeah, we're not going to pass this one for this reason or that reason. We just don't want this being, because they don't have the final say. They just make the product, and then it goes to, the roundtable and gets talked about. EFX, on the other hand, they're making these things, and a lot of times they're taking people's money for pre-orders, but they're not delivering. And it was
not only just pre-orders, Jason, but I know some people who paid for in full for things like, the Scout helmet and the Iron Man helmet, and they're never going to see that money. They're never going to see it. And
you're right, especially the Scouts.
And let's talk like that Yoda. Okay, first of all, even if they did sell it, it'd be thousands of dollars. Okay, thousands. Probably
it would be an expensive piece.
5 figures, probably. Okay, but to me, it looked like an animatronic at Chuck E. Cheese. That's what it looked like to me. So, I can't root for that company. I can't talk. I can't say anything good about that company. Not even nothing. So I'm not gonna. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough one, man. It's a tough
It
one,
is.
and it's funny too because even when they produced the Pirate Vader, right, the melted Vader helmet, I remember finding out early on that the helmets are actually getting released for those who had put the deposit down, and someone at the time, someone who's
Yeah.
now shilling them at the time was just like, "This ain't coming out. This is BS. It's going on and on." And I was
Hey.
like, "Hey, it's official. Like this is happening, you know."
Yeah.
And
Well,
and
that's
it surprisingly it came out. You know, it's one of those things, and then it's like people start to say,
well.
"Well, hey, what
They
about the?"
didn't even finish the run. I'm sure. I know a lot. I think a lot of people didn't even get it. Right.
No,
But
that run got finished. A lot of people
okay.
got it. Almost everybody that bought them got them. But the thing is you had so many other pieces on pre-order, specifically the scouts, right?
Hmm.
Specifically the scout legend. That was the main thing that a lot of people didn't have in hand. But then they're finishing up other projects. So it was one of those things. It was a catch-22 where it was kind of a good thing that a project got, put out there and actually finalized and delivered. But then at the same time, it kind of left a bitter taste in your mouth because you're like, hey, I want to purchase this piece and support them, but they still have my money on this piece. So it's like
Yeah.
kind of this catch-22, this sort of rock and a hard place situation. But as I was going back to what I was saying is there was a situation where it was this whole like, no, this ain't gonna happen, this ain't gonna happen. Then they put it out, it's like, oh, okay, this is happening. So where do you as a collector draw the line in having hope that like, okay, well, if they delivered this, then there's a chance they're gonna deliver the next thing. And you give them and you give them your money with that hope and that trust that they might actually follow through with it. And that's tough, right? Because this
Yeah.
stuff isn't cheap.
Yeah. It is an interesting conversation because I can't fathom how they even remotely show their faces at these cons. I saw them at San Diego, and I didn't buy anything from them, so I'm not gonna be going up to them and giving them shit, because I don't have a horse in the race, but I have an opinion on what they do. Okay, but I'll tell you what, if they owed me $900 for a scout trooper helmet, I sure as hell would be walking up to Brian Ono and saying, "Listen, dude, you owe me fucking money. Like you can't. How do you show your face here when your criminal activities? How do you do that? Okay, there's just I can't fathom how they sit at that table and show things, and bring out this Yoda. Okay, that when they owe so many people so much money, you know, I can't fathom it. But I did save this post, okay, where a lot of these hot toys were shown, and they never got made, and a lot of them I would love to see. Okay, take for I have a bunch of these pictures, but like right
I
here,
would
this
love
is
that. I would love
I
that figure right there.
I would too. I would buy this in a second. I love Timothy Oliphant. I love the way he walks. I love the way he talks. I love the way he stands. I've been praying to God that they don't tech him out like they did those ridiculous kids in Book of Boba Fett. Please don't do that. Please, please, please. There's a whole bunch of great hot toys. Like, okay, so they have this C3PO, but they came out with the Attack of the Clones C3PO. Why don't we see
I
this
like that.
C3PO?
I like that Attack of the Clintons one.
I do too. I actually do too.
I think it's great detail.
I'm not a fan of C3PO, but honestly, this is that's one I actually looked at and thought, oh, that's pretty good. This one I would buy in a heartbeat.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I love the design on this trooper. I absolutely love it. No, this I didn't realize this one wasn't out for sale. I didn't realize that this one was put up, shown,
If
but
I
not
still
sold.
had like 130, Star Wars hot toys, this would definitely be added to the collection just because. Now that I cut that in half,
Hmm.
this isn't one that I would go out of my way to get.
No, I have no interest in this one either. Uh, Wait, this did come out. Didn't this just come out?
I think so.
I think no. This is different. This is a different one. This isn't the.
I know
This
there's one
isn't
with
the.
like the cat and a
Yeah,
couple other things. Yeah.
this is a different one. Chewbacca. This is the which one is this? This is not Solo because Solo has the two bandoliers, right? This is the Solo
Yes,
one.
that's a Solo with the glasses, and that's a cool one too. That's a pretty
It
badass one.
is. I buy that.
Dude, look at that beast, huh?
Yeah, that's. Listen, I don't know why people look at see these 1/6 scale ships like the Naboo Starfighter and think, oh, I can't wait to get that in my collection. These ships are never coming out, ever.
No,
From
they're in his personal collection for sure.
yes, like okay, so we went to Celebration and they had the Bark Speeder and the I forget what the designation is, but that little ATST type thing for clones. And I looked at it and I thought, all right, well, they may come out with a Bark Speeder, but there's no way in hell they're coming out with that ATST thing. And to this day, it still hasn't been, made available. Look, Sir Droids.
That dude, I love. Ever since I saw that and the one behind him, the Death Star, what's it called?
Yeah,
The Death Star Trooper, that's running at the control panel.
Death Star Commander.
Yeah, the Death
What
Star
is it?
Commander.
Death Star.
But I've been
Trooper,
waiting
yeah.
for those two figures for 4 years. I'm never going to
These
see
two?
them.
No, these.
Yeah,
are-
that and the one behind him.
Is this the Colin Michael Kitchens?
Dude,
One?
that's it, and it's spot on. The chest plate and the forehead,
Yeah.
they nailed it. Oops,
Yeah.
or droids. Yeah,
Is
they
that
nailed it.
really the rifle he had?
Yes. Actually, I don't remember. I have to go back and look at the movie, but possibly.
Wow, that's cool. If it is, I like that. I like that one.
I love how it comes with the little ring. Dude, look at
There
that.
you go.
Imagine that with that base. What? All day.
It's cool, but I wouldn't buy it.
I would. I would definitely buy that.
I'd be more inclined to buy the Luxor Droids hot toy.
Well, yeah, any of those troopers are
These.
phenomenal.
These are cool. I like these.
The Mimbin. Yeah.
Nimbin.
I am glad. I have to say, I didn't think it was going to happen. I'm so glad they released a patrol trooper. Although he's a blink and you miss a character, I
Yeah.
love the look of that trooper. Love it.
It's a really good trooper. Yeah, I had it, but I sold it.
I can't bring myself to sell that one for some reason.
I cannot believe they didn't put this out. This
I know. I'm
I'm-
surprised.
genuinely shocked. Really
I am
shocked.
surprised.
There's the ATST I was talking about.
So that is coming out, right? Isn't that like already
No.
up for order or no?
No, the speeder that they showed is up for order, but this never was put out for order. And
Huh.
like the Bad Batch, they've shown 3 figures now. They showed why can't I picture the names? 3 of them they showed at cons, and they haven't put them up for sale. Tech, God, why can't I think of their names? That's partially why I canceled the 2 that I had on order. This we would have went crazy for back in the old days when we were on the 6 scale
with,
scavengers.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. In the beginning of Rogue One 6, everybody really wanted these Rogue One figures.
They came out with pretty much 90% of the line. I don't understand why they didn't come out with this figure. He looks top notch.
This one and Andor are that pilot too they didn't come out with either. I never really cared for his character. There he is. This one's still not out yet. That is crazy.
That's phenomenal.
Those are hot toys. Those are
Yes, they are.
12-inch figures. 1/6 scale figures. Imagine how freaking big that thing is.
Imagine how big the ties are. I mean, the studio scale tie I'm working on, if I have it sitting up on a table, it's from like the chest to the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Those are 6 scale.
This I
Look at
don't
that
like
sexy
at all.
smile. He never
This I-
came out either.
No, these are all.
And
These
people
are all.
were people
these
were
are all-
sure this one was getting released. Remember?
No, I didn't think it was getting released.
No, but I'm
Yeah.
saying, remember the discussion? A lot of people were so sure this one was getting released.
I wouldn't buy it.
No, he wouldn't. I wouldn't have bought it either. But I
Now
remember a lot of people.
this was a Rogue One. This was part of the Rogue One line that they were gonna release this one. Never came out. This I would have loved to have.
Yeah, he never made it, huh?
Nope.
He hit the chopping block.
Nope. Nope. I'm also stunned that this isn't out either.
I don't know why.
I don't know why either. It's pretty crazy to think it hasn't been. Again, another ship.
So, you know what's interesting about this, Chris?
But
Go ahead. What were we gonna say?
I was just gonna say, they showed pictures of that vulture, the marble vulture. I don't think that's ever coming out. I don't know why they put that back up again. Just to
Antagonize Yost.
antagonize Yost. They're never coming out with it. No.
So
What were you gonna say?
this piece, after this was showcased, there was a guy selling these, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, it's just some Yahoo who probably 3D printed some file and this, that, and the other. Well, about a year and a half ago, I ended up getting my hands on one, right, for a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a legit, like, I don't know if he had access to whatever they were making, or I don't know where they came from. If anybody in the chat knows, if anybody who's not watching this live and watches this after the fact, if you know what I'm talking about or where it originated from. But somebody was selling these. It was 6 scale. Anakin fit in it like a glove. Dude, the detail and the overall size, everything about it was like Hot Toys quality.
Yeah.
I was the guy who thought they meant it. Yeah. And
It'd be cool.
It would be cool. And the guy who was selling them, he had a couple. I think he was selling for like 800, 1,000, or 1,000 a piece, and they were fantastic. So whoever got their hands on one, hats off to them. But yeah, Hot Toys never pulled the trigger, and it's a great, especially with Anakin. It's just an amazing scene. He's got R2, there with him. Yeah.
So now look at this Starfighter and kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier. There's no kit parts on here. These are guns and they're tubes, but like these may be kit parts, but most of this
very
is just
very little, if anything. Yeah.
very little, if any. Maybe in the cockpit, but nothing outside here is kit parts. But like we were talking about earlier with the prequels. I probably wouldn't have bought that one. Too plain.
I don't like the orange.
No, the orange does not look good.
I would have been all over that.
Yeah. Well, it would have been monstrous. Almost as big as... Yeah, it's huge. That's insane.
That's pretty cool. Phasma with a spare. I do like that.
Now, they did come out with the Phasma, but this looks like it's shiny. Was the other one shiny?
Yeah, the other one's chrome. I have the other Phasma, and I gotta say, as much as she got shit on and was in the bargain bin for like $30, she displays really well the first Phasma.
Is this Last Jedi or is this
This is the second movie.
This is the second movie, yeah, because in the third movie, didn't she like not have half of her helmet or something?
Yeah. So, oh no, in this movie that happened. So the first version of this, the one that actually got released, what's cool about it in hand, Chris, is she's not perfectly chrome in the like, how when you have a Death Trooper, like when you look at a picture of a Death Trooper, he looks like he's like Vader black, like shiny black. But in person, all his panel lines and seam lines have like dirt and grit in it, right?
Yes.
Well, with Phasma, her panel lines and seam lines have like soot in it. It's like grit, like black soot and grit. But she's chrome, so the weathering and detail on her, and anybody who didn't own her just shit all over her. But if you owned her, a lot of people who had her in hand was like, this is a fantastic figure. And she is. I still have her on display, and I think she looks awesome.
Let's not get into the prequels.
That's all right. I like them. I like the design of a lot of the...
I'll tell you, when I first saw Phasma, I thought, wow, she looks really freaking awesome. And then the movies. Another one I'm surprised that they didn't come out with. This was probably when they realized that the prequel stuff was not selling as well as they'd like it to have. They
I
probably
can't
got to
believe
this.
we never got a Poe.
It's a cool figure. It is a cool
It's just
figure.
weird. We got two different fins, but never a Poe. That's weird to me.
I just think that they got to the point where they realized people are not going to be buying this stuff, so let's stop making
Well,
it.
part of the problem too, Chris, was they were making the original trilogy figures, and you have to keep in mind they were making them in such small batches, right? And it wasn't too far after the first Star Wars figure they made was DX Luke, Bespin Luke, and they only had made a handful. So now the Force Awakens comes out, and they're thinking, "Wow, the newest Star Wars." People are gonna. It was almost Hot Toys' version of what happened to the 3 3/4 inch figures during the prequels when
Yeah,
everybody was lining up to buy the Phantom Menace. Yeah,
yep.
and everybody was going bonkers and just buying them by the boatloads. So Hot Toys prepared for that, especially with like the troopers, and they just made tens and thousands of them.
Yep.
And then they realized, like, wow, we made way too many of these things, and we just can't get rid of them.
Right. What is this?
That's the quarter scale Vader.
Well, they came out with the quarter scale Vader,
They did, and I have it, and I love it.
but that's not this.
Yeah, that's. I think they were showing that because they also had a quarter scale Stormtrooper and a quarter scale Kylo Ren, but those two never got released.
Well, this whole post is figures that weren't released.
Oh, this got released. It's that base and everything.
Oh, really?
Like mine is literally standing on that same base.
Well, I know that came out.
This I would have bought in the Stormtrooper and that Kylo Ren.
Yeah, that never came out.
Well, it did, but not via Hot Toy.
No, not Hot Toys. That,
So didn't that.
yeah. Gonk Droid. I buy that.
I wish that one came out that funky. This threw me off. Yeah, I would have liked that.
What's this from? Is this from the Jawa Sandcrawler? Is this in there? Is this a different Gonk Droid?
There's a couple that walk around. I think that's one that
Really?
walks around on Tatooine.
Okay.
But they just came with the regular one. So now they teased this so many times. We really thought we were getting a 2-pack to differentiate the Jawas, because if you wanted a not troop build, I'm using that term loosely because it means multiple figures. But if you wanted a couple of Jawas, different blasters, different coats, different weathering. But no, we
Yeah.
got stuck with the one Jawa and they packaged it with a Gonk Droid.
Well, they had two shown. They had a short one and a taller one. Taller.
Yeah,
skinny
now
one.
they never released it, and everybody was like, "Oh, the second one's coming. The second one's coming." It never came.
I was one of the ones that thought the second one was coming with an R5D4. But again,
Yes,
probably didn't sell as well as they liked it to, and they're like, all right, we're not coming out with another one. Battle Droid, not out. I honestly, Battle Droids are, I know people like them, but they're just as annoying to me as Jar Jar. I don't like them. I don't like Jar. That's the go around. That's all of them. That's all of them in this
man,
post.
he even looks like Timothy Olyphant the way he's standing that figure, doesn't
Well, maybe not in this pose, but I have seen other poses where they have him slouched and standing like Timothy does.
he? He's still got that tall, lanky look though.
Yes, yes. I would buy that in a heartbeat. But I honestly, this ain't never coming out. I'd be stunned if they did. I wish they did, but they're not going to.
You don't think, huh?
I don't think so. I hope so. Don't get me wrong. I really. Oh, I did have this I wanted to show. So this was a 1/6 scale Smokey and the Bandit at San
That's
Diego
interesting.
Comic Con. That's awesome, dude. If I could have any car, it would be this car. T-tops.
Really?
Oh my god, I love these cars.
To my uncle just bought one of those in red.
Really?
Yeah, like
I
just
had a
random. It
Firebird.
was like the most. It was like the most random purchase.
I had a '90s Firebird with T-tops, and I loved them. I mean, when I was 16, I bought it, and it wasn't this style, but it was the '90s style Firebird. But this is the best looking card to me. black Trans Am with T-tops. I don't know if that's ever for sale, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, who's making it?
This is
The
Hot
Sideshow?
Toys. No, this is
The
Sideshow.
Hot Toys?
No, I think it's Sideshow.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna say,
it's
it's
at
gonna be
San
Sideshow,
Diego.
right?
It's at San Diego. I don't know if it's ever going to go up. I couldn't tell you. But I wouldn't buy it, but I want the real car. Let's see if there's any other cool things from San Diego from Sideshow. Do you know what this is? I don't know what this is. What is this? Is that Vincent Price?
It might be. I'm not a huge horror fan, so I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to quote it and be wrong.
I kind of feel like that's Vincent Price. It's well done if it is. Yeah, I don't know what that's from, but it's nice. I don't know what this is from either. These look like they're all movie. Is that Dustin Hoffman from The Graduate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's the that's 90
Nutty
Professor or
Professor.
something, right?
What's his name? What's that
Jerry
actor's
Lee
name?
Lewis, maybe?
Jerry Lee Lewis, yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Cool stuff.
I always like the way that frosted colored glass looks.
James Dean. Who's that? Is that?
That's David Lynch's what's the show? Why am I drawing a blank here?
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks. It's Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Oh, and there's Laura. Yeah. Wow.
I never watched that. Is that good?
It's different, man. It's different.
Is it?
Yeah, very.
No, I never watched that. Bela Lugosi. That's cool.
I think they had a Nosferatu. Oh yeah, there he is behind him, Nosferatu.
Yeah,
right behind him.
Nosferatu right there.
And the detail on him was like really surprisingly well done.
Wow, it'd be really cool if they came out with this line of Bela Lugosi and Frankenstein, Nosferatu, Boris Karloff.
I mean, they might, right? Because Sideshow's known for these really outside the box type pieces.
It's something that there's not a lot of it out there. Oh, Fonz.
Look at the Fonz. Matt called me. He's like, "Did you see the Fonz?" I was like, "I saw the Fonz."
Do you know what's funny is like the Fonz was the coolest dude in the 70s, 80s, in the 70s when the Happy Days was out. Now you see him like he's like a sport jumpsuit dad who like isn't cool whatsoever. Like the Fonz was like the coolest person in the world back in the day, and now he's very not.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. I saw from San Diego. We were looking at the Hasbro stuff, and like I used to live for this stuff. Okay, when Hasbro would come out with new things, but now I see this stuff and it looks terrible to me. I don't know why, but you did like this, Bill Burr.
Oh, I love me some Bill Burr. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you like that. And that's done well. And this is a cool figure too. I don't recognize it.
I don't know what that's from. That is cool.
That is cool.
Oh, was that the droid from Mando 2 when Ahsoka, he has the Thrawn logo on the side of his head? Is that droid?
Maybe. I
think
know.
it might be.
Maybe. Another Luke. Now these...
I actually have a handful of these concept these Doug
These are the
Chang
end credit
watercolor
ones.
pieces.
These are the end credit ones.
These are the Doug Chang watercolor figures. I have a
Doug
few.
Chang?
I have yeah, he did the watercolor drawings.
Oh, he did the end credit scenes, the end credit drawings. He did those.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know. It didn't look like his style to me. I just think these are
I
cash
think
grabs.
he at least. I think he at least. I know he did some of them, maybe not all of them. I knew he did the art direction on most of them. I was watching an interview on it, but I just like the concept idea that they came from the watercolor, so I bought a handful of them, a couple of
These just
different
look
ones.
like, to me, these seem like cash grabs. Like carbonized.
Yeah and no. I mean, now they're getting to that point, but the first few that came out, like the original Mando, the Paz Vizsla, like they were done well enough with the paint schemes. They looked like watercolor figures. They were really cool. That vintage stuff is a cash grab.
Yes. We discussed this the other day. Okay.
We did, yeah.
It it would be really cool if they would, like, I like the ones that are made from like Mando, and to put like some of the modern Star Wars in the vintage 5 POA, like the old Kenner things, but to remake an R2D2, Ben, Sand Person, Jawa as the vintage figures, that just seems, that has no interest to me. I thought when they first came out with these, I thought they're gonna fill in the cracks and and fill in the cracks, like come out with figures that they didn't come out with in the old Kenner days. Like they came out with the Grand Moff Tarkin right away, and I was like, oh wow, this is gonna be cool. I thought, oh, I'll buy these, and then they went through the whole gambit of Luke and Ben and Leia and Han, and just redoing the same ones that have already been out before, And then on top of that, the cards sucked. They have that stupid fake faux weathering around the
faux
edge.
weathering.
And then the sticker was just an abomination. Just like that sticker is, you cover up such good art, like the picture or something with this huge ass red sticker. And I realized now you can take that sticker off if you heat it up, but it's still the point. I did buy a couple of them, but I sold them. I got rid of them right away. Yeah, so like pipeline reveals, like here you go, like this. If somebody's interested in this,
that's really that's a thorn in the side for genuine collectors of the original lines, and it's gonna be frustrating, right?
well, honestly, I don't care about that. Okay, that doesn't bother me.
No, you don't. But there's a lot of people that do.
There's a lot of people that do. I have all these figures in package on the card, the original ones. Okay, but I just think it's so, I don't know. Like if you're a modern collector, do you really want these retro ones of R2D2 when seriously you could go get a loose one for $10? You know what I mean? It's not hard to get them loose. It really isn't. I know
You're right. They have them all day every day at my comic store for like
Yes.
10, $15. You're right. Even with
Yes.
the weapons.
Right. The newer ones, some of them cost more than the older ones that are open on out of package.
That is true.
But like, I would have loved to have seen the Six Blue woman. What was her name? Garg, something or another. I would have loved to have seen, like Muftak and Cat Cobb. Like figures that they didn't come out with back in the vintage Kenner days. I'm looking up at my vintage ones now and kind of thinking about which ones I'd like to see. There's so many that they didn't do that they could have did, and like I said, I like the new ones they came out with, like the Mando ones and the Book of Boba ones. I like those. The Ahsoka one, I had it. I kind of wish I hadn't sold it, but I did. But these days I don't get. This is just a poster, right? This was just a poster given out at San Diego Comic-Con, from what I understand. They're not redoing, but they did come out with the Book of Boba Slave 1 or Slave 1. Anybody in the chat actually thinking about buying something like this? I'd really love to know. If you are, you're on the wrong channel. That's terrible. I mean, look at this thing.
It's like Teen Wolf.
Oh my god.
That's what reminds me. It reminds me of Teen Wolf.
And for what I understand, they didn't just take an old sculpt. As I read somewhere, I might be wrong, but I read somewhere that this is a brand new sculpt that they actually did for this.
No, you think so?
That's what I read. I read that. Like, cause they came out with that the black Chewbacca from Book of Boba, and everybody was going crazy because they just used an old sculpt and were going crazy about it. People were not happy with it, and then they go and make a new sculpt for this abomination. I mean, like the what is it? Cantano is a jack-o'-lantern.
The McDonald's Happy Meal trick or treat bucket.
So we were discussing before about like the plastic, right? They're trying to
Yes.
not do bubbles, but to not waste plastic. But if you ask me, this is a bigger waste of plastic than a bubble for a carded figure. Way bigger. I mean, seriously. There was something else too that I saw that I was like, I can't believe they're coming out with those either. It was like miniature ships, but I think they had different paint schemes on them. Then I'll have to find it. Like they were like micro machines, but not nearly as good. Black Series Anniversary package figures over 2 other plastic bubbles. Here they are.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like that's a waste of plastic, right? Like look
Yeah,
at that.
but that's just one man's opinion, brother. Look, it says right there. Look how rare it is. It's one of only 15,000.
Oh, that's Hera Syndulla. That's not even a ship that she used in a show. Like an orange TIE fighter. Sabine Wren's TIE fighter. I'm sorry.
Oh, is that a real thing in like the show? Or?
No, it's not.
Oh, they just made that up.
They just made it up. What's this? Oh, that's a public gunship. That's not too bad if you play with it as a kid. What's this? Do you know what this is? I don't know what this is. Oh, this is the Marauder from. This is the ship for the Bad Batch. Okay. Razor Crest.
Pew, pew.
You know, honestly, I was showing that Firefly ship earlier. This is very. I think a lot of the inspiration for the Razor Crest might have been taken from that. It's very, very similar in shape and has these engines on the side. I mean, might be completely wrong, but it looks a lot like the Firefly to me. So that's all I had, pretty much. Chat's been pretty quiet, so we might not have anybody still there. Anything else you want to talk about, Jason?
No, I mean I'm just kind of chilling, but I'm good.
Yeah.
Aaron's right though. The Universal Monsters line was pretty fantastic. That's where Sideshow excels, you know. But they have a hard time staying in their lane.
Yeah, they do. I think those Universal ones are really cool. I probably wouldn't buy them because I don't want to start another line, but I think they're neat. You know what does hit it out of the park nowadays is the Marvel Legends line. They really do a great job.
You a fan?
I'm
I
a
never
big
was.
fan of them. I bought a whole bunch of them because I was trying my hardest not to buy Hot Toys. I really was. I was trying not to buy them. but it didn't work. I ended up
Dude,
selling
no one
them
else
all.
thinking. No one else thinking of you today, and I was like, man, if I buy him a Christmas present, this has got to be it. He will love me forever.
Mm.
Was the Morbius hot toy.
Oh yeah, I absolutely would love you forever for that one.
Dude, that came out of left field, and they're actually producing that thing.
It it does not look good.
That's a real thing.
I know, but I think it looks terrible.
Oh,
And
it's a
I
train wreck.
and I was a fan. I didn't like the movie that much. I didn't think it was horrible, but I didn't think it was good at all. Okay. But I really liked the Morbius character. I thought he was well done, looked good.
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah. I liked it. I liked that part of it. But the movie wasn't good. The hot toy? No. Definitely never not no interest in that. Even when I was collecting the Spider-Man figures back in the day, I used to buy all the Spider-Man figures, and I wouldn't buy it. I would not buy that. So that's pretty much it, brother.
All right.
I mean, there really wasn't much Star Wars stuff revealed at San Diego Comic-Con, was there? There was the Groot cartoon that's coming out. That's not Star Wars, but that does not look good to me.
What is it?
It's a cartoon for Groot.
Oh, okay.
It's like a kiddie cartoon actually. It's very very child driven. So yeah, okay. Well, that'll do us, I guess. Thanks for joining us, guys. Like I said, we just we haven't been doing many shows lately, other than group therapy every 2 weeks. So I don't know about you, but I want to do more, talking some more studio scale models, more model building. I'm game to do a show every week on that because seriously, that's all I talk about. And if you ask my wife, she'll tell you that's all I think about. So we'll try to do this we'll try to do something like this like once a week or once every other week for sure, in between
Yeah,
group
I'm
therapies.
always game.
Yeah, and thanks for joining us, guys. Oh, what does this say? Buy followers, primes, and viewers on mainstreamstore.com. Yeah, we'll just we'll get to that. Yeah. All right. I think that's it for today. See you,
All right, good
everybody.
night.